Hello, this is my presentation on hypertext markup language and cascading style sheets. So the big idea for my project was I wanted to create a reference a resume or a portfolio of all my ComSci projects on it and put it on a website and publish that online. So I want to do this because next year in the application process for universities, while also applying to jobs, possibly I'll be able to put that on my resume and have a portfolio ready to go, easily accessible by all the potential employers to better myself and make myself more marketable for the positions that I'm going after next year. And for this, I need to understand how HTML and CSS works and how to create a website out of those, how they interact, how the websites are published. So that is what I analyzed in this presentation right now. So I need to know how to make a website, and I did some research and I found that's very simple. All you have to do is go to one of these websites here. Personally, I chose Wix, and then you can create an account, and once you create an account for Wix, it offered this editor or this ADI. We're going to use the ADI because the editor seems like a little bit more complicated, and the ADI is very easy, and you just answer some questions for this, and you got a website, and then you just publish that and you're good to go. So this is what I use to build my portfolio. I hope it helps me next year, and I am joking. This is not what I want to do. I want to understand how HTML and CSS work so I have a better understanding of the web, and that is why I started with the history of these two languages. So originally, HTML was developed by Tim Berners-Lee, who is a researcher at Kern, and he developed it in 1990 as a way to share documents between his research team. It was later built upon and published publicly in 1997. It was published publicly in 1995, and it was officially standardized by the World Wide Web Consortium, or W3C, in 1997. CSS was developed by the man to the left. In 1994, he proposed the idea of CSS as a styling for the HTML documents, and later it was officially published by the W3C in 1996 and became the standard style for web documents. It was pushed forward by the man in the middle, and these two men are co-founders. So how does the internet work? That was one of the things I wanted to look into. So it's very simple. Your computer here is given a URL, and this URL is the location of a document, and the document is searched for by your computer. It searches for the document on a server or a cloud type thing, and then the cloud type gives the document to the computer and displays it on the screen to the user. And this is very simple. So let's decipher the URL more. The first thing in a URL is the protocol. This is the HTTPS : / and many things, and this specific one means that it is a hypertext document, so your browser knows that it is reading a hypertext document, and it just helps it in that manner. So there are other protocols for other types of documents, such as your email uses one for email documents. And then you have the www, which just means World Wide Web, and it's a very generic thing while surfing the web. And then you have the server that your document is hosted on right now. So that is just the domain, and that is a generic thing that then is made specific by the / and then the page. So that's the specific document that you're pulling from that server. So the server is a location on the web, then the page is the location on the server that you want, and that finds a specific document, and then it links back. And by linking several URLs and several pages together, several servers together, you create the World Wide Web, which allows users today to surf it using search engines and other things, and it's just a fantastic design in that manner. So HTML and CSS in the internet is it's the standard document type used. So HTML is just the document. It's like it holds all the data that is being displayed. So like the text, the images, the links to other places, all the information is held in the HTML file, and is very plainly displayed. As you can see in the image, this is the basic Google search page, but without all the CSS styling applied to it. Then if we apply the styling, you can see it looks much better. So CSS is just styling to put data in specific locations, to not display it, to color it, and it's just to make the web pages look good and fancy. So let's go into more detail on how HTML displays this data. So for this, HTML documents can just be any text document, and then you add the extension .html to the end, and that will transfer it into an HTML file, and it just reads plain text in that manner. So the way it reads it is in the form of elements, and elements build up all of HTML documents, and these are made with angular brackets around the element type name. And then that's to open the element. Then to close the element, you have a /, then the element name again. And there's also another type of element, which is has a singular. For specific elements, they only need one angular bracket encasing and a / at the end, and that's just to tell the browser when that element ends. And this is only used in specific ones. I'll go into more detail later. And by piecing these elements together, you're able to create documents and HTML files that they'll then display on the browser. So the common elements are here. The first column is structure elements. The next one are containers. And the third one is inline, and you can see those are some of those special cases where it's just one element tag because they have the / at the end. So let's go into the structure. First, you need to establish that you're writing in HTML so that your browser is better at reading it. So the first thing you need to do in any HTML document is declare it as the doc type HTML, and that's just ! doc type HTML, and that's in angular brackets, and that way your computer knows. Then next, all the HTML you write, you need to write in an HTML element, and that's just, again, to make sure the computer knows what you're writing in, and you just open and close a simple HTML element for that. And then all the other elements will be inside the HTML element. And next structure is the head of the web document, and the head holds all the data that is not actually displayed on the web page. So one of the examples is the title. This is the title element. This is displayed on the tab on the top of your browser, and it's not actually in the web page, so it's held in the head element. The other things that could be in here is linking it to other documents, or styling, or linking it to font types, or linking or holding metadata, which is not displayed on the actual document but still want to be held inside the HTML document. If we put that all together, we can see that the doc type, then HTML, then head is inside HTML, then title is inside, and that is how that works. Then next you have the body, which is the actual content on the web page, and one of the examples is just a simple header element I made here, which is H1. You can have H1 to H6, and I put in hello world header, and you can see that inside the body it actually displays on the web page. And if we put that all together, we can see that you have the doc type, then HTML element encapsulates everything, then you have head with all the data that's not displayed on the web page, then you have body with all the data that actually is. So next we'll go into the containers in it. So as I said before, you can have 6 different headers, and that's just for styling, and you have paragraphs, divs. Let's just talk about basic ones, which is header 1 to 6 and paragraph. These are just simply whole text. And as you can see, when you create an element on the web page, it has a whole container I've outlined in that in the image, so that's all the space that it takes up currently, and you can fool around with that later on in CSS. Next you have list. This is the unordered list, so the list element is one whole element, then each list or point inside the list element is another container itself, so these are, Next you have an ordered list, which compared to the unordered list is OL instead of UL, and this is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or the other one was bullet points. Each element can also have attributes put to it, so this is, for example, the top element here, which is A, is a hyperlink, so you need to have a reference to the location that your hyperlink is leading to. So this is just a simple URL, relative or absolute location to the document. And then there's also div elements, which are just basic blank containers. And these have attributes of ID and classification, which allows them to then be altered in CSS. And this is just for styling purposes. So you can see here I've included a hyperlink, and I've also created a div element, which is just an empty container around the to list on the web page. And that just creates a container around both lists, and it allows me to alter that container and color it however I want without having to color both lists separately. Next you have inline things, which is, the first one is a break in the line, the next one is an image, so these are just special elements that only require one tag to do it. And for the image, you need the image location, so it can actually pull the image to be displayed. So the way I did this in the example is I created, inside where the HTML file was, I put a picture there, and then I put a relative reference to it based on the location of the HTML file, and then it just displayed that picture on the web page. This is the preferred method because then all the pictures on your website are not dependent on other pictures online, because you could put an absolute location of a URL of a picture, but then if that picture is taken down, it will not display anything. So CSS is basically filters for your containers. A way to link the CSS is to create a link element, the relationship, these are the attributes, you need to say it's a style sheet, the type is a CSS style sheet, and the reference is the relative location to it, which is just style.css. Next, in the style sheet, it's made by this, so each element inside your HTML document can be altered by doing these braces here. It'll open and close, and each there's different properties that you can alter them, such as font, background color, border, and these are all in the API, so it's impossible to go through them all. So I'm just going to give you an example of how to do it. So one way is you can change, so as you can see the head element, when I put background color red in there, you need to have the property you're changing, what you're changing it to, and then or colon what you're changing it to, then a semicolon to finish it so it knows you're done, and then it'll apply the transformation, it'll apply the thing when being displayed. So I changed the head element there. I can also change the body element there, also background, but then if I have head and body altered, I can, it always chooses the one nearest to the bottom of the document as the true value, so you can change one aspect of it, and then so you can do general changes to the larger document and then more specific as you want to change specific things so that it knows exactly how you want it to be displayed in that manner. You can also use this to move around the containers and display them however you want. As you can see here, to display color, you can do either a generic HTML friendly color, hexadecimal, or RGB values. So you can also do for class and ID attributes, you can change them physically there by doing a hashtag or a dot. The next steps in this project would actually be going to publish this website and creating it as my reference that I can then link to and put on my CV. And that allows me, I think, greater flexibility and allow me to understand how the internet actually works even further, having published my own website. Thank you. Here are my references.